Renegade Immortal, Chapter 599, Early Stage Ascendant. Hello, welcome back to my channel, Books with AR. The fusion of the domain and celestial spiritual energy is a burning process. The celestial spiritual energy is the fuel, and the domain refined by that flame turns into an ascendant crystal. At the moment the ascendant crystal is formed, you might feel like you have become nothing, and your soul is wandering the heavens and earth. This feeling is extremely rare, and it is called ascendant enlightenment. Normally, the first thing cultivators on a cultivation planet do is use this moment of comprehension to pull their soul piece back from the cultivation planet crystal. Although the chance is only 50%, they must try. Wang Lin had already recovered his soul piece, so he obviously didn't need to do this. At this moment, all of the celestial jades in his bag had already been placed around him. The last bit of celestial spiritual energy had just been squeezed out of the jade before they turned to dust. There was no wind here, so the dust wasn't blown away, and instead just gathered on the ground. A large amount of celestial spiritual energy entered Wang Lin's body through his pores and rapidly moved through his meridians. Then, the celestial spiritual energy quickly gathered around his life and death domain in his origin soul. A self-refining process continued in Wang Lin's body. There was a firestorm raging inside Wang Lin as his body underwent earth-shattering changes. His origin soul was like a giant cocoon. His domain was the life inside the cocoon, and the celestial spiritual energy was the raging fire outside the cocoon. The stronger the flames burned, the more lively the cocoon became, and the more the domain inside fused with the cocoon. The purpose of the fusion between the celestial spiritual energy and the domain was eventually to fuse the domain with the origin soul. From that point on, there would be no distinction between the domain and origin soul. The domain was the origin soul, and the origin soul was the domain. The fire burned even stronger outside the cocoon. Whenever the flame seemed to weaken, even more celestial spiritual energy would surge in from the outside. It was like adding dry gas to a flame, causing it to burn even stronger. This celestial flame burned brightly inside Wang Lin. The invisible flame was not visible to the naked eye. However, if one were to use their divine sense, they would see the scene of Wang Lin emitting an amazing flame from his body. Seek Tao in the morning and die by night is something every ascendant cultivator knows, and it has a lot to do with this flame. If one can't get past this trial, then this flame will go from ethereal to real, and will burn the origin soul and body to dust in an instant. The origin cocoon inside the flame became even more alive, and the life and death scroll inside the cocoon was also changing. It seemed like it was about to melt and fuse with the cocoon. Time slowly passed, and the celestial flame didn't weaken at all. As more and more celestial spiritual energy was injected into the flame, it burned even brighter. The origin energy inside the origin soul cocoon completely melted into a mass of chaotic energy. This energy was called origin energy in ancient times. During ancient times, there were no cultivators. The cultivators back then called themselves energy refiners. The powerful Kunlu energy refiners were the typical example of ancient cultivators. They called themselves energy refiners because of the energy in origin energy, and because their cultivation was focused on origin energy. This strand of origin energy was formed from Wang Lin's domain. The origin energy was being nourished by the cocoon, like a baby still in the mother's womb. The origin energy continued to grow stronger. In ancient times, this origin energy wouldn't be left inside the origin soul. Instead, it would be extracted and would replace all of the celestial spiritual energy in the body. However, after the celestial realms suddenly appeared out of the void, cultivators became celestials and seeked immortality, so they started using this origin energy as their life energy. They surrounded themselves with celestial spiritual energy, and that is how some cultivators and celestials wouldn't die as long as they had a sliver of true energy left. That sliver of true energy is this origin energy. The invisible flame inside Wang Lin became even more intent. The origin energy inside the origin soul cocoon condensed until it turned to a liquid-like substance. It was crystal clear and took various shapes. However, this liquid couldn't crystallize. If it couldn't crystallize, then it couldn't form the ascendant crystal. Wang Lin's conscience was wide awake. After trying many times and failing, he took a deep breath. At this moment, all of the celestial jades around Wang Lin exploded, releasing all of their celestial spiritual energy. The celestial spiritual energy moved like smoke as it all rapidly entered Wang Lin through his nose. The moment the last bit of celestial spiritual energy from the celestial jades entered Wang Lin, the invisible flame burned several times stronger than before. In an instant, it was as if there were celestial flames coming out of Wang Lin's mouth and nose. A large amount of sweat began to come out of his body, but at the moment the sweat appeared, it would evaporate into white gas. The white gas above Wang Lin's head gradually grew more dense. The celestial flame in Wang Lin's body burned like it never burned before as it rushed at the origin soul cocoon. The origin energy liquid finally began to show signs of crystallizing after being refined by this flame. At the moment it was about to crystallize, it suddenly trembled. This trembling was completely silent, but it immediately caused the origin soul to move. The movement of the origin soul immediately caused the celestial flame to change. Instead of refining, it began to spread. The invisible flame in Wang Lin's body began to turn into real flame, and he was about to fail his attempt at reaching the ascendant stage. But just at this moment, the ascendant crystal that Zhou Yi gifted him, which he devoured earlier, came out of his dantian and fused with the celestial flame. Not only could the celestial flame not affect it at all, but when it got close, the celestial flame dimmed as if this object could extinguish it. Zhou Yi's ascendant crystal arrived next to the origin soul cocoon and entered it without any obstruction. It appeared next to Wang Lin's ascendant crystal. The two ascendant crystals, one representing life and death, while the other represented obsession, Zhou Yi's ascendant crystal circled Wang Lin's ascendant crystal once before collapsing. At the moment it collapsed, all of the origin crystals inside it were absorbed by Wang Lin's ascendant crystal. Wang Lin's ascendant crystal grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. It grew like crazy from the initial fingernail size until it was the size of his pinky. At this moment, the origin soul cocoon no longer moved, and the celestial flame stopped becoming real. Although all of this seems very simple, that was a moment of life and death. After absorbing the origin energy from Zhou Yi's ascendant crystal, Wang Lin's ascendant crystal took shape. At that moment, the origin soul cocoon quickly shrank. It was now wrapped around the ascendant crystal. A new aura was slowly forming inside the origin soul cocoon. This process lasted for a very long time. Wang Lin sat in the lotus position inside that cave. He was motionless, as if he had always been there. On the outside, time quickly passed by. In the Sky Demon country, Sky Demon City had already been rebuilt 10 years ago. Its size and scope was the same as it was before. The Imperial Palace still stood, and the large square was back too. The giant demon drum was still on the square. 10 years of time flashed by in an instant. The residents of Sky Demon City dodged the catastrophe 10 years ago, but what they saw would be something they would never forget in their lives. The rumor of a cultivator named Wang Lin was still spreading across Sky Demon City. The boat was no longer there, and even the people from the boat were gone. There was no longer anyone playing the zither. The young man that once drank with Wang Lin was currently standing above a pavilion in the Imperial Palace. Beside him was a girl. She was very beautiful, but there was a mischievous expression on her face. If Shui Li Guo were here and he saw the girl, he would be drooling and then would pounce at her while shouting, "Little beauty, your big brother Shui is back." That young man let out a sigh and muttered, "Strange. It has been 10 years since that little guy disappeared. Even with the 5 ancestors working together to check with their divine senses, they can't find a trace of him. It is as if he left this demon spirit land." The capital of Sky Demon City. After the city was rebuilt, there was a very glorious mansion built on the east side. This mansion had a giant plague with 6 large letters: Earth Vice Commander-in-Chief's Mansion. There were countless servants inside the mansion, and there were fake mountains everywhere, making it very elegant. A burly man wearing a commander-in-chief robe was standing next to one of the fake mountains in the yard. He looked up into the sky and let out a sigh. Behind the burly man were 3 men. These 3 men were all wearing the armor of demon generals, and they all stood there motionless and had very respectful attitudes. "Brother Wang, where did you go?" The burly man let out a long sigh. Inside the cave, Wang Lin hadn't moved at all in these 10 years. He still sat there as if he was a statue. In his body, the refining inside the origin soul cocoon slowly ended, and a shocking aura slowly spread from the cocoon. After unknown amount of time, a crack suddenly appeared on the origin soul cocoon. This crack was very thin, and the cocoon gently split. Shortly after, another crack appeared, and soon more cracks appeared across the cocoon. Even more cracks appeared all over the cocoon until it finally shattered. At the moment it shattered, rays of gray light came out from within. Then a newly born origin soul slowly floated out of the cocoon. This origin soul was no longer transparent, but completely solid. There was almost no difference between it and the flesh. The Ascendant crystal was slowly turning inside the origin soul. For an Ascendant cultivator, their origin soul is their domain. This is the true state of a domain after it enters the body. After the origin soul flew out, the shattered cocoon immediately melted into nourishment specifically for the origin soul and was absorbed by the origin soul. Once all of it was absorbed, the origin soul sat down in the lotus position, and the moment his origin soul sat down, Wang Lin's body trembled, and for the first time in 10 years, he opened his eyes. Wang Lin muttered to himself, "Ascendant," and then his eyes lit up brighter than ever before. After 700 years of cultivation, he finally achieved the Ascendant stage. Ascendant cultivators were top-tier existences in any rank 6 cultivation countries. Even in rank 7 cultivation countries, Ascendant cultivators were still considered powerhouses. Wang Lin was in Ascendant enlightenment for 10 years and had other harvests as well.